Have you ever felt a chill down your spine when history doesn't add up? When ancient structures defy physics? When symbols carved in stone whisper of forgotten gods? When a buried artifact looks like it belongs to the future, not the past? This isn't just about lost civilizations. It's about the questions they left behind, questions that science still refuses to answer. Today, we invite you on a journey through time, dust, and shadow. A journey into the most baffling, the most beautiful, and the most terrifying mysteries of our ancient world. From deserts hiding tales of giants, to oceans keeping secrets beneath their waves. From stones that sing of gods, to statues that may have walked. These aren't just ruins, they're riddles. And we're here to ask the questions no one dares to ask. So buckle up, because what you're about to see may not be explainable, but it just might be real. They were taller, they were red-haired, and they were feared. Long before history was written in books, the Paiute people of Nevada passed down a terrifying legend. A tribe of giants, cannibalistic, red-haired beasts known as the Ct-Ka, who once roamed the desert. They hunted, they ate human flesh, and they ruled with terror. Until one day, the tribes had enough. The story goes that the Paiutes drove these giants into a cave. They piled brush at the entrance, and they set it ablaze. The fire choked out the monsters, sealing their fate forever. For generations, it was just a story, a myth told around campfires. Then came 1911. Two miners digging for bat guano in Lovelock Cave stumbled onto something much stranger than fertilizer. Woven baskets, duck decoys, and sandals 15 inches long. Soon after, archaeologists uncovered over 10,000 artifacts, bones, tools, and mummified remains, some with red hair, some said to stand over 5 feet tall. Whispers of the giants grew louder, but just as quickly, the evidence vanished. Many of the large skeletons disappeared into private collections. Others were quietly reburied. The 1912 excavation was poorly documented, and the mystery was buried deeper than ever. Modern scientists explain it away. They say the red hair was just oxidation. They say the people were just tall, not giants. That the 15-inch sandals could have belonged to someone simply 2 meters tall. That better nutrition, not myth, explains the size. But what about the fire-scorched walls near the cave entrance? What about the massive handprint pressed into stone? What about the DNA testing that showed Eurasian origins, thousands of miles from Nevada? And most haunting of all, what about the bones that are no longer there? Some believe the Ct-Ka were real, the remnants of a forgotten race. Others say they were Nephilim, half-human, half-angel beings spoken of in the Bible. Still others whisper of alien bloodlines buried beneath the desert floor. No evidence confirms it, but no one can prove it false either. So the question remains, were the Lovelock giants real or just a terrifying echo of collective memory? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain. The cave still stands, silent, dark, and full of secrets. And if you listen carefully, the fire may not be out yet. High above the river where Texas meets Mexico, on a cliff scorched by sun and time, lies a painting older than most civilizations. They call it the White Shaman. Etched onto stone more than 4,000 years ago, this mural stretches 26 feet wide, 13 feet tall. A chaotic swirl of symbols, human figures, animals, and one ghostly, headless figure. He's pale, he's towering, and no one knows who he is. Some say it's art, others say it's a map, but one woman saw something more. In 1989, artist Carolyn Boyd hiked across the Chihuahuan Desert, descended a 250-foot slope and stood before the mural. And something clicked. This wasn't random. This was a story, a cosmic one. She gave up her career as a painter and became an archaeologist, dedicating 30 years to decoding the mystery. Her theory: the White Shaman isn't just a shaman. He's part of an ancient creation myth passed down by the Udo-Aztecan peoples. His story tells of the birth of the sun, the separation of worlds, and the shaman's journey between them. Feathered headdresses, winding serpents, portals between life and death. One Huical shaman, a descendant of those ancient people, wept when he saw the mural. He recognized the myth instantly. It was his own, etched into the rock long before he was born. But not everyone agrees. Some archaeologists think it's a record of hunting rituals. Others say it was meant to show a shaman's power, not a cosmic truth. And some warn that overlaying modern myth onto ancient symbols risks distorting the past. Still, the mural remains, silent, untouched, timeless. And every time the sun sets, its colors seem to glow. When the moon rises, the White Shaman seems to awaken. Some say they've felt whispers in the canyon, as if the stone remembers something we forgot. Today, it's protected. Tours are limited. But for those who make the journey, the exhaustion melts away the moment they arrive. Because standing before that ancient wall, you don't just see history, you feel it. So what is the White Shaman really? A myth made visible, a window into time before time, or a riddle carved by hands that knew more than we do? Whatever it is, it's still speaking. The only question is, are we finally ready to listen? In the remote highlands of Qinghai, China, a cave opens into the face of a cliff. Its entrance is triangular. Its walls are bare stone, and its floor is littered with metal pipes. They look old, rust-colored, but unmistakably artificial. Some are wide as a fist, others no thicker than a pen. They run across the cave floor. They pierce through the rock. Some even stretch toward a distant salt lake called Tassin. This is not a place where people should have built anything. It is arid. It is desolate, and it sits 2,800 meters above sea level. No sign of ancient settlement exists nearby. No temples, no tools, no houses, just pipes. In 2002, Chinese scientists investigated. They collected samples. The Beijing Institute of Geology ran tests. The pipes were made mostly of iron oxide, but 8% of the material could not be identified. Even more puzzling, some pipes dated back 150,000 years. That was before writing, before agriculture, before the wheel. No known civilization could have forged metal at that time. Some scientists suggested these were not pipes at all. They believed they were fossilized tree roots. Over time, the roots may have absorbed minerals. Eventually, they hardened into iron-rich formations. Similar phenomena have been recorded in Louisiana, but the shapes in Baigong are different. They are straight. They are hollow. They resemble a designed system. Some theorists proposed a bolder idea. They believed the pipes were built by an unknown civilization. Some said they were part of a forgotten power plant. Others thought they were remnants of alien machinery. A nearby mountain adds fuel to the fire. Its slopes form a perfect pyramid. Its alignment faces the lake. No one has explained its shape. Critics point out a natural explanation. They mention erosion. They point to geological pressure. They reference the complex mineral history of the region. But the mystery remains. Why are the pipes so evenly sized? Why do they contain radioactive traces? Why has the site been left unexplored for so long? Today, Baigong Cave is isolated. It is near a military zone. Access is limited. Research is rare. And answers are even rarer. Whether they are roots, relics, or ruins, no one can say for sure. But one thing is certain. Something strange happened here, and the Earth remembers. In the heart of the Pacific Ocean lies a mystery carved in stone. Its name is Rapa Nui, but the world knows it as Easter Island. It is the most isolated inhabited island on Earth, just 14 miles long, 7 miles wide, surrounded by endless ocean. And yet nearly 1,000 stone giants stand here, silent, massive, unexplained. These are the Moai, statues up to 33 feet tall, weighing over 80 tons, carved from volcanic rock. Some wear red stone hats. Others still lie unfinished in ancient quarries. The question is not just how, but why. Archaeologists say the Moai were carved at a volcano called Rano Raraku. They were shaped with stone tools. They were moved without wheels. One theory says they were walked using ropes and balance. Modern tests show this method works, but legends say something else. The Moai moved by mana, spiritual power, energy from the chiefs. When Europeans arrived in 1722, the statues still stood tall, but later most were toppled. Some blame tribal wars, others blame colonizers. And then there's the trees. Rapa Nui was once covered in palm forests. By the 18th century, the island was nearly barren. Some believe the trees were cut to move statues. Others say they were lost to farming and rats. As the forests died, so did the civilization. Without wood, they couldn't build boats. They couldn't fish. They couldn't escape. Then came slavery. Then disease. By 1877, only 111 Rapa Nui people remained. Yet the Moai endured, some buried, some broken, some stolen. Today, the island is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Tourists come from all over the world. Many statues have been restored, but others still lie face down, like fallen guardians. Climate change now threatens them again. Fires have scorched ancient faces. Rising seas erode sacred ground. Still, the Moai stand, mouth sealed, eyes empty, holding secrets they refuse to share. Why were they built? Why did they stop? And what power once made them walk? Some say the answer is science. Others say it is spirit. But the truth, like the island, remains surrounded by silence. It began with a shovel. In 1929, a farmer in Sichuan province was digging a ditch. What he found was not just dirt, it was jade, shattered, buried, forgotten. Decades passed. Then in 1986, brick workers unearthed 2 ritual pits. Inside were objects no one had seen before, Giant bronze masks, eyes that bulged, ears that stretched, statues over 8 feet tall. A bronze tree 4 meters high, birds perched on its branches, gold, jade, and silence. These treasures belong to a lost civilization. Its name is Sanxingdui. It flourished from 2700 to 1000 BCE, contemporary with the Shang dynasty, but completely different. No writing, no records, only metal, stone, and myth. In 2021, archaeologists discovered 6 more pits. Inside were even more wonders. A half-kilogram gold mask, the oldest silk ever found in Sichuan, a statue with a human head and a snake's body. Some believe the masks were worn in rituals, their painted lips, their marked ears, as if they were meant to be awakened. Others say they were mounted on poles, used to transform ancestors into gods, but the mystery deepened. Many artifacts had been burned, smashed, then buried. Why destroy what you treasure? Was it sacrifice, a farewell, a warning? No one knows why Sanxingdui vanished. Around 1100 BCE, the city was abandoned, without a word, without a war. Some say an earthquake changed the river's course. Others blame drought or collapse from within. Scholars argue over its origin. Was it a kingdom, a trade hub, or a sacred site? Some point to India, others to Central Asia, but the truth remains locked beneath the soil. Today, Sanxingdui is rising again. Excavations continue. Its museum dazzles with bronze giants. And yet, every answer leads to more questions. What was this civilization trying to say? Who were they talking to? And why did they disappear? The Sanxingdui Bronzes still stare at us, eyes wide, unblinking, as if they remember something we've long forgotten. It began in 1862. A farmer was clearing land in southern Mexico. He struck something hard. It wasn't a rock, it was a face, 5 feet tall, carved from solid basalt, staring up from the earth. This was the first Olmec colossal head. Since then, 17 more have been found, each one different, each one massive. Some weigh over 50 tons. They were carved between 1400 and 900 BCE, before the Maya, before the Aztec. This was Mesoamerica's first great civilization, the Olmecs. Their cities are gone, their language is unknown, but their heads remain. The stone came from mountains over 90 miles away. There were no wheels, no metal tools, only manpower. Some believe the stones were floated down rivers, then rolled on logs. Each head took months to complete. Thousands of people may have been involved. The features are distinct: thick lips, broad noses, deep eyes, and intricate headdresses. Some say they are portraits of kings. Others think they represent players of a sacred ball game. Some even suggest they were altars for sacrifice. One theory once claimed African origins, but experts now agree. The features match local indigenous people. The heads are 100% Mesoamerican. Their purpose is still debated. Were they spiritual guardians, political symbols, or messages carved in stone for the future? Some have been moved, some damaged. In 2009, a cult poured salt and oil on them, believing in a lost ritual, yet the heads endure, weathered, cracked, but still powerful. They are displayed across Mexico. Some have replicas around the world, but the real ones remain where they began, silent, still, watching. For almost 3,000 years they've stood under the sun, holding secrets too heavy to carry and too important to forget. In 1933, a strange boulder was found in the hills of New Mexico. It sat 400 feet above sea level, weighed nearly 80 tons, and on one smooth face were words, 9 lines, carved deep into basalt. Old, faded, mysterious. Archaeologist Frank Hibben studied it. He cleared away the lichen, and what he saw left him speechless. The letters resembled Paleo-Hebrew, an ancient script from around 1000 BCE. The message, a version of the Ten Commandments. It mentioned God. It warned of sin. It mirrored parts of Jewish law. But how did Hebrew writing end up in America, long before Columbus, long before any known Semitic explorers? Some said it was proof that ancient Israelites crossed the sea, that they reached the Americas. That history is incomplete, but the stone raises questions. Some characters resemble Greek. The grammar is inconsistent. The carving is rough. Linguist Cyrus Gordon believed it was real. He thought it was a Decalogue tablet, like those once placed at synagogues. Others strongly disagreed. Scholars pointed to errors, missing lines, mixed styles. They said it was a fake. There's a rumor that 2 students carved it in the 1930s as a prank, but no one has proved it. In 1953, a team inspected the patina. They said the carvings looked fresh, not ancient. Still, others argue the opposite. Geologist George Morehouse found weathering. He claimed it was at least 500 years old, maybe even 2,000. But the truth remains buried in stone. Is this a Semitic relic or a modern hoax? If it is ancient, it rewrites history. If it is fake, it fooled scholars for decades. Today, the Los Lunas stone sits quietly, hidden on a dry hillside, watched by no one, touched by time. People still climb to see it. They stand in silence, and they wonder, is it faith carved in stone, or just another mystery the desert refuses to explain? In the heart of Costa Rica, inside a museum in San Jose, tiny green figures stare back in silence. They are made of jade, hard, heavy, unyielding. Some are owls with wide, staring eyes. Others are half man, half creature. Some wear feathered crowns. Others hold symbols of power. But these are not just decorations. They are relics of belief, worn by shamans, held by leaders, buried with the dead. And here's the mystery. Costa Rica has no jade. Not a single mine. The nearest source is over 600 miles away, in the Motagua River Valley of Guatemala. So how did it get here? The figurines date from 500 BCE to 700 CE. That's more than 1,000 years of jade craftsmanship. In 1939, archaeologist Doris Stone began recording jade in ancient graves. By 1977, Costa Rica opened a museum to protect them. It now holds over 7,000 pieces. The carving is intricate, precise. Jade ranks 6 to 7 on the Mohs scale of hardness. Yet ancient artisans shaped it without metal tools. They used cords and abrasive powders. They sawed curves. They polished details. Some pendants may have taken years to complete. The most famous style is the axe god. a human or animal carved into a jade axe blade. Others feature frogs, snakes, and birds, symbols of fertility, symbols of spirit, symbols of life. The finest pieces used blue-green jade from Guatemala. Cheaper versions used serpentine or other green stones. How did the jade travel south? Some believe there was a vast trade network, linking the Maya to Central American cultures. Jade was traded for feathers, obsidian, and cacao, but not all agree on the meaning. Were the statues religious icons? Were they political emblems? Or something more? Some scholars believe they were worn by elite warriors. Others say they represent spiritual transformation. There are even theories of South American influence, but no evidence confirms this. When trade routes collapsed around 700 CE, the jade vanished. Gold took its place, but the figures remain. They survived time. They survived conquest. They survived forgetting. And today they speak without sound. They tell of a people who valued the eternal, who carved the sacred into stone, one tiny figure at a time. In 1964, the U.S. Navy sent a ship to the edge of the world. Its name was the Eltanin, an old icebreaker, reborn as a science vessel. Its mission was simple: scan the ocean floor, map the unknown, photograph the deep. Then, at nearly 4,000 meters below the surface, it captured something strange. An object standing upright, shaped like a tower, with branching arms, each arm ending in a perfect sphere. It looked like an antenna. It looked man-made. But it was sitting in a place no human could reach. The photo was published. It stunned scientists. It thrilled believers. UFO researchers said it was alien, a beacon, a transmitter, left by someone or something not from Earth. Others saw patterns, sacred geometry. They pointed to numbers like 144. They said it aligned with energy grids, planetary nodes, ancient knowledge, but not everyone agreed. In 1971, two oceanographers gave an answer. They said it was a sponge, a deep-sea species called Cladorhiza, carnivorous, rare, real. They even found an 1888 drawing that looked identical. Sponge or not, questions remained. Why didn't the Eltanin crew recognize it? Why was it standing alone? Why was its shape so perfect? Too balanced, too rigid, too technological. In 2003, another researcher confirmed it was a sponge. But the photo continued to circulate. It never left the mystery circles. It never left the doubt. And the object, it has never been seen again. Not once. Some say it was removed. By scientists, by governments, by someone who didn't want us to know. Others say it is still there, waiting, watching, buried in silence. Was it biology mistaken for a machine, or a machine mistaken for biology? Whatever it was, it reminds us of one truth. In the deepest places of Earth, our eyes can see, but they may not always understand. In 2016, the ice melted, and something unbelievable appeared. On Champ Island, deep in the Russian Arctic, miners found them. Dozens of stone spheres, scattered across frozen ground. Massive, smooth, almost perfect. Some were 4 meters wide, some cracked open. Inside were layers like an onion, concentric, precise, like marbles for giants. Locals called them seta. Visitors called them impossible. The shapes were too round, too polished, too artificial. Geologists came, they called it concretion, a natural process. Minerals gather around a core, layer by layer, over millions of years. They said it happened deep under the sea. That erosion had exposed them. That nature made them, but not everyone agreed. Why are they so many? Why are they so big? Why are they clustered in circles? Some believed they were tools or offerings or artifacts. Others pointed to the strange sound. When tapped, some spheres rang like a bell, hollow, metallic, wrong. Theories exploded online. Some compared them to the Klerksdorp spheres in South Africa, said to be billions of years old, linked to unknown technology. And then there's the island itself. Champ Island was once a Soviet military zone, a place of secrets, nuclear tests, silence. Could the spheres be connected? Were they shaped by science, by weapons, or by something older than both? No one knows for sure. The location is harsh. Research is rare. Answers are frozen, but the spheres remain. Cold, ancient, unexplained. If nature made them, she worked like a sculptor. If someone else did, we may never know who. But one thing is certain. In the land of ice and stone, something round and silent still waits to be understood. In 1979, a geologist broke open a block of clay in southern China. Inside were bones, burnt wood, charcoal, and mystery. 10 years later, another cave was found, near the city of Mengzi. It became known as Red Deer Cave. Inside were more bones, more tools, and thousands of red deer remains who lived here, who hunted and burned these animals. And why do their bones look ancient? In 2008, scientists began a deeper investigation. They dated the bones, 17,800 to 11,500 years ago, the end of the last ice age. But something didn't add up. The skulls were thick, the brow ridges heavy, the jaws protruded. The bones resembled Homo erectus, a species that should have vanished long before. But these people lived alongside modern humans. They were here as farming was beginning. In 2010, a thigh bone was found, thin, light, like something from the distant past. Some believed this was a new species, or a remnant of an ancient one that never left. Others proposed a hybrid, modern humans mixed with Denisovans, an extinct group only known through DNA. Another theory saw isolation, a small group trapped in the mountains, cut off, preserved, forgotten. Some scientists pushed back. They said it was just variation, that humans can be strange, that ancient features can reappear. But in 2015, DNA testing continued, and in 2022, it changed everything. The Red Deer Cave people were modern humans, related to East Asians and Native Americans. The skull belonged to a woman. She may have been an ancestor of those who crossed into the Americas, but the mystery stayed. Why did her bones look ancient? Why did her body carry the shape of a vanished species? Were these signs of deep ancestry, of survival beyond the odds, or proof that the story of humanity is not a straight line? Today, Red Deer Cave still holds secrets, still holds silence. And those bones, strange and human, whisper of a chapter we haven't finished reading. More than 4,000 years ago, a civilization thrived along the Indus River. It built cities, laid streets in grids, engineered sewers. Harappa, Mohenjo-Daro, two of the oldest planned cities on Earth. But they left behind something stranger than their ruins, a script, thousands of tiny seals, each carved with symbols no one can read. Some show animals, some show humans, others show signs like no other writing on Earth. They are not Egyptian, not Mesopotamian, not Chinese. Most have just 3 to 5 characters, some a little more, but none form sentences. None have been translated. Since the 1800s, scholars have tried. They've compared it to cuneiform, to hieroglyphs, to pictographs. Nothing works. There is no Rosetta Stone, no bilingual inscription, only symbols and silence. Some believe it is a full writing system. Others think it is just symbolic tags. For trade, for ownership, for ritual. One theory says they used syllables. Another says they used ideas. A few say it may not be writing at all. Over 4,000 seals have been found, but not a single one can be read. And when the Indus civilization collapsed around 1900 BCE, its language disappeared with it. No one carried it forward. No one copied it. It vanished. Some think a war ended it. Others say drought or earthquakes. But no answer has yet emerged. And maybe the key is in those symbols. Maybe they hold the truth. Maybe they are waiting. Until then, the seals stay quiet, locked, mysterious, a forgotten script from a forgotten people, still speaking in a language only time can understand. In 2001, a flood struck the Halil River Valley in Iran. When the water receded, the earth had opened, and secrets poured out. Thousands of ancient graves. Looters came first. Strange artifacts appeared on the black market. Jade cups, carved vessels, game boards, weapons with gemstones. No one knew where they came from until the trail led back to Jiroft. Archaeologists arrived. What they found stunned the world. This was no ordinary cemetery. It was a city, a lost civilization. One that thrived between 2500 and 2200 BCE. Stone bricks, ceremonial buildings, a massive 2-story fortress. The architecture echoed Mesopotamia. But the art was different, unique. A figure with 2 horns wrestled snakes, scenes of taming wild beasts, palace-like vessels shaped like ziggurats. Some believed Jiroft was Aratta, a land of wealth mentioned in Sumerian myth. A city of power, of legend. One brick held symbols. Some think it's the oldest Elamite writing ever found. Others think it may be the start of a script we've never seen. In 2014, global teams joined the dig. Italy, France, Germany. They found homes, workshops, and cylinder seals identical to Mesopotamian ones. Still, some scholars remain skeptical. They say Jiroft was a trade hub, not a kingdom, not independent. Its artifacts show influence. From the Indus Valley, from Elam, from everywhere. But if it was just a crossroads, why was it forgotten for 5,000 years? Why was it buried so deeply? And what else lies beneath that valley? Jiroft reminds us of a simple truth. Sometimes history hides in the ground, and sometimes it takes a flood to bring a civilization back into the light. In 1961, archaeologists were digging in Transylvania. They found a pit filled with figurines, shell bracelets, burned bones, and 3 tiny tablets, each no larger than your palm, made of clay, carved with strange symbols. 2 had holes, as if they were meant to be worn or displayed or honored. The symbols looked familiar, but ancient, too ancient. 1 tablet showed an animal beside what looked like a tree. The other 2 were filled with lines, triangles, marks, mystery. Some compared them to the Vinci symbols, an old system from southeastern Europe, older than Egypt, older than Sumer. Could these be writing, real writing, the first writing? If true, the tablets date to 5300 BCE. That's 1,000 years before Sumerian cuneiform, and that would change everything. But there's a problem. No carbon dating was done. The tablets were baked by the museum. The evidence was destroyed. Some say they're fakes. Some say they're misunderstood. Others say they were part of a ritual, buried with a shaman. Still, the symbols remain, and they match others found in the region, across hundreds of sites, across centuries. The Vinci system has 700 signs, almost as many as Egyptian hieroglyphs, but all of them are short, too short to translate, too short to confirm. Some think the Tartaria Tablets were trade tags, or religious tokens, or early calendars. Others go further. They say this was a lost civilization, one with writing and memory that was erased, erased by time, erased by history, or erased by choice. The truth is still debated, but the tablets remain small, simple, silent, and if they are what some believe, they could rewrite the origin of the written word. In 2007, archaeologists were digging near the Yellow River. They uncovered a burial site, ancient, peaceful, filled with skeletons laid with hands over chests. But one grave was different, smaller, stranger. The body was tiny, but well-formed, proportional, balanced. It didn't match any disease or any known deformity. Its hands were hidden behind the back, not crossed over the chest, as if it had a different story. Tests showed it was older than the rest. Around 10,000 years old, Neolithic. The bones were thin, delicate, brittle from osteoporosis. This was a young adult, perhaps 16 to 20 years old, and they had survived. That was the real mystery. How did someone with dwarfism live so long, in a world that demanded strength, in a tribe that hunted and fought to survive? Some say the person was excluded. Others believe they were honored, buried with the group, but set apart. Was it ritual? Was it rejection? Or was it reverence? Some suggest this person had spiritual status, maybe a healer, maybe a prophet, maybe someone different. Genetic analysis points to hypothyroidism, or pituitary dwarfism, a rare condition, even rarer in ancient remains. Among tens of thousands of skeletons worldwide, only 40 known cases of ancient dwarfism exist. This is one of the oldest. Some go further. They link it to folklore, legends of little people in Asian myth, spirits, wanderers, messengers from other realms. Others think it's a fluke, a genetic echo in an isolated tribe, but no one can deny what it means. That this person was not discarded, not erased, but buried with care among their people. And that tells us something about ancient humanity, about compassion, about acceptance. Long before history was written, this person lived, struggled, and found a place in the story of us all. In southern Greece, the sea hides a secret, a city, older than Athens, older than Rome. Its name is Pavlopetri. It lies just 4 meters beneath the water, silent, intact. The first signs appeared in 1904, unusual lines seen beneath the waves. But it wasn't until 1967 that the truth emerged. This was no reef. This was a city. In 1968, a team from Cambridge mapped it. Streets, tombs, buildings. Everything was still there. Pottery dated it back to 3500 BCE. That makes it the oldest submerged city ever found. The layout was precise. 2-story homes, gardens, plazas, an advanced water system. It wasn't a village, it was a planned society, organized, thriving, weaving frames, textile tools, trade goods. They showed a city built on commerce and craft. But then the sea came and swallowed everything. Why? No one knows for sure. Some blame earthquakes. Others point to rising sea levels or sinking land. The Peloponnese is seismically active. Tremors may have pulled the city under. Others speak of legend, Atlantis, lost cities, ancient warnings, but scholars remain cautious. No myth, just science. Still, the mystery lingers. Why was the city never rebuilt? Where did its people go? Why did it vanish without a trace? In 2009, researchers used sonar and robots. They scanned every inch, found even more structures, hidden streets, hallways untouched for millennia. The city had grown over time, from Neolithic to Mycenaean, then silence. Today, Pavlopetri faces a new threat: tourism, pollution, looting. Even under UNESCO protection, it remains vulnerable, but it also remains breathtaking. A moment frozen in time. A civilization paused beneath the waves, still waiting, still watching, still whispering, and perhaps still warning us that even the greatest cities can be washed away. Deep in the Australian bush, a cliff hides a secret, etched into sandstone, hidden by trees, almost forgotten. More than 300 symbols cover the rock. They look like Egyptian hieroglyphs, gods, ships, snakes, ankhs, and the name of a king, Khufu, the builder of the Great Pyramid. But this isn't Egypt, it's Australia, 60 kilometers north of Sydney. In 1975, a local surveyor found the carvings. He was stunned and confused. The site was narrow, steep, hard to reach, and the symbols kept changing. Each time he returned, more had appeared. Were they ancient or modern fakes? Some believed the glyphs told a story of a shipwreck, of a prince lost at sea, of Egyptians landing in a foreign land. They showed animals, owls, dogs, hybrid figures, but there were problems. The grammar was wrong, the styles were mixed. Symbols from different dynasties stood side by side. Some carvings looked fresh. Others were weathered, inconsistent, suspicious. Experts weighed in. Most called it a hoax, a prank, a fantasy carved into stone. Some blamed soldiers, veterans of World War I who had seen Egypt. Maybe they carved the glyphs later, as tribute or amusement. One man claimed he saw someone carving the rocks in 1984, but others still believe. They point to obscure details, like Thoth as a baboon, a symbol not widely known in the West back then. Some tried to connect the glyphs to Aboriginal culture, but the style was completely different, unrelated. There are even alien theories, lost civilizations, Atlantis. None with proof. Still, the carvings remain, untouched, undeciphered. If they are fake, why go to such lengths? Why so many? Why here? And if they are real, what would that mean? Egyptians in Australia, thousands of years ago. It seems impossible, but the symbols are there, carved in stone, waiting, watching, daring us to decide what we believe. It looked like a geode, just a strange rock found in the mountains of California, but inside was something impossible. The year was 1961. 3 rock hunters were searching for quartz. They picked up a stone, hard, heavy, ordinary until they tried to cut it open. The saw hit metal, it sparked, it stopped. Inside was no crystal, it was a cylinder, white ceramic, a metal rod, a copper ring, a spring. It looked like a spark plug, modern, precise, industrial. But the rock around it was ancient. Some said 500,000 years old, long before humans had machines or cities or even writing. X-rays confirmed the structure. The core was metallic, intact, untouched by time. The artifact was called the Koso object, or the spark plug in stone. The mystery exploded. Was it proof of ancient technology, a relic from a forgotten civilization, or something even stranger? Skeptics offered another view. They said it was a modern spark plug, trapped by natural forces, minerals forming around it through concretion. Others pointed to similar objects, found at Owens Lake, also encased in hard earth, formed in decades, not millennia. But doubts remained. Why the perfect shape? Why the uncorroded metal? Why so deep in ancient strata? Then the artifact vanished. No more tests, no peer-reviewed papers, only blurry photos in old magazines. Some believe it was covered up, others say it was lost, or never real. Still, the story lingers. A spark plug found where it should not be, in a rock too old to hold it. If it's a hoax, it fooled many. If it's real, it changes everything. Because if machines existed 500,000 years ago, then our history is not just wrong, it's missing. So what do we make of all this? Giants buried in caves, symbols no one can read, cities swallowed by the sea, bones that look ancient but aren't, and objects that seem to come from the future stuck inside the past. Are these coincidences? Are they stories twisted by time? Or are they fragments of something we're not ready to understand? Science offers theories, logic offers doubt, but mystery never leaves. Because behind every unanswered question is the same whisper, what if? What if history isn't complete? What if the timeline is wrong? What if the world is older, stranger, more intelligent than we've been taught? The truth may be hidden, buried in the ground, trapped in stone, sinking beneath rising seas. Or maybe it's been right in front of us all along, waiting, watching, and daring us to keep asking.